Hello everyone and welcome to week 14. The next few weeks leading to the end of the semester will be much lighter on new content so that everyone can focus on completing your final project. As mentioned in the announcement that I sent out last Thursday, the complete instructions for the final project are available in Canvas. You can read through the complete instructions under the Coming Up section from week 13. I will be releasing week 16 very soon so that you can see the actual assignment page and know exactly where you'll be submitting the final URL for your published LibGuide. There will be no more journals or assignments aside from the final project, so that's good news. You'll be completing one discussion each week and a few other tasks, including a final project check-in this week, a self-assessment during week 15, a learning outcomes quiz for the program also during week 15, and then just a wrap-up survey at the end of week 16. This week, we'll continue our more holistic approach to learning about libraries as we shift from library operations to thinking about the future of libraries. By now, we've covered the history of libraries, professional ethics, the role of the library technician in libraries, public services, technical services, classification systems, information retrieval, and library operations. Now that we know how libraries operate, I wanted to introduce the class to a very important recent development in libraries called Critical LIS. Critical LIS, which stands for Library and Information Science, is the scholarly and professional practice of critiquing how libraries have contributed to perpetuating and upholding systems of oppression. I would say this practice intensified in the 21st century with key contributors like Hope Olson, Emily Drabinski, and Mario Ramirez. But we can trace this practice of critiquing our own field back to the 1970s when a librarian named Sanford Berman published the groundbreaking book Prejudices and Antipathies in 1971. I do provide a link to a really great LibGuide that was created by American University in Washington, D.C. It helps further define and provide examples of some of the suggested journals that we'll actually be reading from next week, and then some really important publications associated with Critical LIS. I also wanted to briefly share the results for a WorldCat search for the text that I just mentioned that was published by Berman in 1971. The description says that this text marked the opening salvo in the fight to rid the Library of Congress subject headings of bias. In the ensuing 22 years, and even today, many of its recommendations have been embraced. Subject headings remain a controversial topic in library studies because they are the official controlled vocabulary, which is a list of terms established by the Library of Congress to describe what a book is about. In a search catalog like Primo that we use at Neely Library, you can find the list of official subject headings on the detailed record page under subjects. As recently as 2011, there was a major push by catalogers and other librarians to change a subject heading that was previously illegal aliens. I'll share this press release from ALA that describes the removal of this offensive language and the terms that it was replaced with. Now, instead of describing undocumented people or illegal aliens as such, they now use the terms non-citizens, and illegal immigration. I would argue that illegal immigration is still a highly problematic term, but even this change represents how difficult it is to accurately describe a group of people without bias. For this class, our textbook actually begins with a section in Chapter 1 that highlights some of the historic critiques of libraries. For example, the complicitness of public libraries in segregation and the racist and sexist personal views of one of the founders of library organizational systems. I understand that this may be new information for many of you, and I encourage you to take some time to reflect on how this information may shift your view of libraries. The good news is that by reviewing our past and critiquing library culture, policies, and practices of the past, we can begin to work on imagining the future of libraries that are actually inclusive. I know that throughout the semester, you've read and watched videos about libraries and library professionals that are dedicated to equal access, inclusion, and supporting diversity. Today, libraries are more aware than ever about how our institutions have been harmful to marginalized communities and can do better to achieve the goals of libraries. I wanted to share how these efforts that you see today have been supported by scholars on the theoretical side with all of those publications that we reviewed a second ago. Critical LIS in the academy, right, aka colleges and universities, has provided the literature and research to support change in the practical library environment. I wanted to be sure to introduce all of you to all of the work that was done before we got to this point, where there is a much stronger sense of social justice and equity in the library world. Okay, so back to week 14. Your discussion this week has to do with the resurgence of book challenges and book banning in libraries. And a lot of what you read about in this section in chapter 1 and some of the things that I've discussed in this video can help you understand why it's so important for libraries to respond in the way that they are about these kinds of challenges. Please make sure to fill out the doodle poll to share your availability for a Zoom meeting during week 15. And then to finish out the week, we have the final project third survey check-in. I hope you all can now see that in addition to giving everyone practice with LibGuides, the final project was also designed to encourage each of you to imagine what an inclusive and effective library could look like. Please send me your questions about this week and the final project via Canvas inbox. Have a good week. We'll talk soon. Bye.